we that one I that was one of the first ones that I created there because I do forensic anthropology. I'm a board certified forensic anthropologist, and I've been that since the 90s, so a long time. And what I have been doing is not, and if you look at forensic anthropology, it's often described as someone who deals with bones. If you ever watch the show Bones, which isn't particularly realistic, but, and I won't hold it against you, but if you ever saw it, it's basically about the human bones and what we can learn from that. And so that's classically what it's been about. But my training is also in archaeology. And so I brought the combination of the bones as well as the archaeology to the fact that we go to forensic scenes and outdoor forensic scenes and basically process them. The police are very good at indoor scenes, and if you're studying criminalistics, then you're going to get a lot of that. But when it's outside, when it's a scatter of bones or a buried body, or even when we talk about fatal fires and mass disasters, that's where the skills of archaeology and the ability to interpret what's going on at the outdoor scene comes into play. And so we're one of the few places that does that. We created a master's program. I would say that it's the best in the world for what we do, and we do a lot of cases. We do an average of about 120 cases a year because of that skill, not only with the bones, but also with the ability to deal with outdoor scenes. And so we attract the best students in the world to this discipline because they get a lot of hands-on experience. That benefits the undergraduates who are interested in forensic anthropology because the graduate students help them out. They show them the cases, they can work with the bones and all that. And so, like, as you'll meet Caitlin here shortly, she benefited from that. She had an interest in forensic anthropology and came to Mercyhurst. And by her sophomore senior year, she was involved with the graduate students. She was involved with the forensic cases, and as you'll see with our department, it's not a huge department, and the school is not huge. And so one of the key benefits of that is that we get to know the students, and you guys have the opportunity to walk in our offices anytime. I'm a crazy person. I usually get in by 6:30 and leave about 5, and I'm in my office, and so students can walk in any time. Have a question, have an issue, or just want to talk. We have very good relationships with our students, and my philosophy is that when I look at my career, it's not based, or it's not judged on how many books that I wrote or how many articles, etc. The value of my training, passing it on to the students, is that the students do well, and I take a look at how our students have graduated and what kind of jobs that they have, and many of them have gone on to PhDs. Many of them are leading their own departments and doing that. And so those, we have those three concentrations and focus upon them. Students have come in and said, I have a little bit of a different interest, and we can accommodate them as well. We have not a set, but we have a sort of a guidebook to the types of classes that if you want to be a forensic biologist and study genetics, then we have a curriculum that you can follow, but you can mix and match things in there to, if you decide by your junior year that you want to go to a certain program, or you want to do a certain job, and it would require a class that's not in the list that we suggest, then we're certainly willing to take a look at it and swap it out for something else or add it to it, etc. So again, our focus, we do a lot of stuff, a lot of hands-on. we have a very good reputation in the forensic science discipline, but the key is passing that on to the students and letting them be successful as well. So so we've done that for now over 20 years. It's gone very fast. So
we have a couple of different years
Okay.
worth of students here. There are some juniors in high school. There are some seniors in high school. Can you talk, I guess, a two-part question. One, what classes are helpful if they are not a senior that they take in high school? From an admission standpoint, there's no different requirements that you need to meet, but there may be helpful classes that will kind of serve you well if you want to major in the applied forensic science field. And then two, what does an incoming freshman's schedule look like from your end as far as some of those major classes that they'll get to take right away?
Okay, I'll address one, and I may predict that I'll have forgotten what the second one is, so you may have to repeat it, Rebecca. The first one is a good question about in high school what you should take. Our program is a heavy duty natural science program. So if you look at the curriculum, we have biology, chemistry, physics, math. We have all of that, and taken in total, it's very comparable to a pre-med program, and we do that because it's the forensic sciences, and that's the key aspect about it. And we also do it because you as high school students say, I think I'm interested in that, but I don't know exactly what's involved with it. So when we bring in students, we have experts in the forensic sciences, and so we can talk to you about what is involved in the field. What would you be doing as a forensic anthropologist or a forensic biologist, et cetera? And so typically what we'll see is that maybe 60% of the students that come in as freshmen will graduate in forensic science. The other 46 I may see up on the graduation stage there. They ended up in biology, maybe organic chemistry or something like that, or some other discipline. So what I see is that this college experience is a way to try to figure out what you want to do, get some expertise or get some expert opinions on how to go about that and whether it's realistic, et cetera. And then the other component is, whether you enjoy it. Ours, there's biology and chemistry and calculus and all on the horizon. So if you are in high school now, you've taken some of those classes and said you really like it and you do well in it, perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. And maybe in high school you should focus, if you have some extra classes available, try to get an extra class in biology or chemistry or a math class, et cetera. You might even be able to opt out of them if you do well enough. And then that frees you up to do other types of classes. So if the question is what types of classes I should take, it would be natural science classes. Do that so that you have a pretty good understanding that that's what you want to do, because that's what you're going to get in our program is a lot of science. The natural sciences as well as the forensic sciences, the fun part. Part two,
what does the freshman schedule look like? They will take some REACH classes. So anyone who does not know what REACH is, those are our gen ed classes that everyone has to take. But what kind of major classes on that, kind of list of requirements will they get to take as a freshman or a sophomore?
Yes, that's a good question. In the past, and when Caitlin came through, my philosophy was, I need to show the students that this is not an easy discipline. This isn't, picking fibers off of the carpet and doing that. It is heavy duty natural science. So we front loaded chemistry and biology there with the students, but then realized that, students like you want to explore forensic science. And so this year, what we're doing is that all the freshmen will take the Introduction to Forensic Science class. it's a survey class of all the different aspects of forensic science, and again, you could put forensic in front of almost anything, and it becomes a discipline within the forensic science world. So there'd be introduction to forensic science. Those that are interested in criminalistics, forensic biology, there's a criminalistics class that has an interesting lab associated with it, where you do fingerprinting, you do blood spatter, et cetera, et cetera. So those would be some of the freshman classes. Those that are interested in forensic anthropology will have an introduction to forensic anthropology and talk about what's involved with the field. And then we mix in there you'll have some either biology or chemistry classes, and then some of the liberal core requirement classes, et cetera. So we've altered, tweaked it a little bit, and I think it'll be much more appealing to freshmen coming in. And the first day that you're on campus and taking classes, you're going to be taking a class in forensic science, which is why you're coming to Mercyhurst for the most part.
Yeah, I do think that's one of the things the freshmen like most about majors across the board, is that they get to kind of dive into their major right away.
Yeah.
As far as the different concentrations, some students might know off the bat what concentration they're interested in. If students don't know what they're interested in, or maybe they're just learning what the difference is between the concentration, how do you, kind of as a department, help them find that right track if they are a little bit unsure?
Yeah, we do have those three concentrations. We're also, in addition to tweaking some of the classes, we're also tweaking a little bit the curriculum. We're planning to add one, hopefully this coming year, and then another one the following year. So it'll be a little bit different. So again, what was the question? I got off track a little bit.
I guess if students know that they're interested in
the
forensic science in general, but they aren't sure about maybe the more specific routes they can take.
Right. The concentrations, when students come in, they can say, I'd like to be in the applied forensic sciences department. The concentration will be forensic anthropology or forensic chemistry. That's sort of just a guide. Many of the beginning courses, the first year, the second year courses are the same between all three concentrations. So that's not a big deal. If you come in and say, I'd like to do forensic anthropology, and then you take a class in genetics and say, well, I'd like to do forensic biology, that's not a problem. We just I sign on the dotted line on a paper, and it's just a paperwork thing. And along the way, you may say, hey, I'm interested in forensic anthropology and forensic biology, but I want to go to this school, and they have a somewhat different perspective, and they require this class, or I think this class would be beneficial, maybe a class in forensic entomology or forensic accounting or something like that. Then we can rearrange things a little bit, say, instead of this class, you take that class. So we're very pliable. Again, it's for the students, what they're going to get out of it. So the concentration, you may pick that and worry about, did I pick the right one? That shouldn't be a thought that crosses your mind. That can be changed. In a week, you could come in 7 days and say, I'd like to change it. So,
and I think that does happen a lot, because sometimes college offers a much wider breadth of classes students can take than they can in high school. So sometimes they don't know they like it until they get to take a class in college is the first time they get a chance to do that. I think this might be a good time to pull Caitlin in and ask her maybe what her path was. Caitlin, we'll see if Angela can get you spotlighted so we can get both you and Dr. Dirkmaat, kind of visible to our students. But Caitlin, can you talk a little bit about, maybe introduce yourself first? I forget to say that part. Introduce yourself, and then maybe talk a little bit about your pathway. Did you know right away what you wanted to do as far as concentration goes, or did you do a little bit of exploring?
So my name's Caitlin. I'm a current grad student at Mercyhurst, but I did do my 4 years of undergrad here as well. I started in the biocrim concentration, but then as I took some more classes, I took the osteo class actually and realized I really like the bones. And I was good at it. So I switched to a biology major and double majored with that and the anthropology concentration. It is very easy to switch. It, like he said, it's just a paper you have to sign. It doesn't really change anything for your schedule because you do have to take those bios and chems and physics before anything else.
Yeah,
you
and
knew-
then Caitlin's talking about double majoring. So that's something that probably about 5 or 6 years ago, students that were able, prior to 5 or 6 years ago, it was very difficult because there was a lot of core classes, and that has been altered a bit. And whereas 5 years ago, Caitlin wouldn't have been able to double major except, stay another year or so. But by reorganizing some of that, you're able to do that. And so with her double major in forensic anthropology, forensic science, and biology, she's a much more appealing student. And so when she applied to our program, we couldn't deny her, so we took her.
Caitlin, did you know coming into Mercer's that you wanted to double major, or was that something that you kind of discovered along the way? Because I do think some students feel that they have to have that 4-year plan mapped out as a high school senior. Oftentimes that's not the case, but was it the case for you that you knew?
I had never really even considered a biology major because I knew I was so interested in forensics, but I am glad I did it. And I was able to study abroad too. Another thing you could do at Mercyhurst. I went to Ireland, but no, it wasn't part of my original plan. But then I went through and mapped it all out and realized that I could still get the double major and not be completely overwhelmed.
I think that's one of the good things too. I think sometimes the perception is if I'm majoring in something that is very natural science heavy, I can't study abroad or I can't do this. That's something that's reserved for a more liberal arts traditional field. Not the case at Mercyhurst. We have the opportunity there for any students. We did have a question about hands-on experience. I know Dr. Dirkmatt, you talked about it a little bit. Caitlin, can you talk about some of the hands-on experience you had personally as an undergrad, and then maybe a little bit about, what you're doing now as a grad student, which I'm sure is even more involved and more in depth.
So I became the most involved probably my junior year. I got a work study position. We currently have 12 that we offer to the undergrads. But I got that position and I started working a lot in Dr. Dirkmatt's office, 3D scanning bones. That's how I got really involved with him and how he got to know me personally. We also got to do a project where we helped process a donated body from a complete body down to bone, which is a really unique experience because at most other undergraduate programs, you're not going to get to see a dead body. That is something that's not for everyone for sure. So getting to know whether or not that's for you as early as possible is good. So I was really grateful and lucky that I got that experience and realized that I could handle it early on. And then my spring of my senior year, I got to go on 3 or 4 different cases with the grad students and their full team. So that was really cool as well.
Awesome. Can you just while we're, kind of talking about your undergrad experience, talk a little bit about, sort of maybe if you were involved outside the classroom and how is it possible to balance a double major and still being involved, whether it's a club related to your major, something just for fun, anything along those lines?
The only club I was in was the Forensic Science Club. But when I started it, it was very volunteer heavy. So we got out and did a lot of things. I was also in the honors program. So if anyone has any questions about that, we can give you guys my email at the end. What was the question? Sorry, like Dr. Dirkmatt.
Yeah.
That's
And
all right.
I'm
I often
No.
put too much lead in my questions too, but how did you balance having 2 academic programs and, kind of still enjoying life as a college student?
You have to find time to relax and not stress out. A lot of my Fridays, my freshman year, I'd get done with class at 11 and I'd go home and nap for 4 hours because that's what I needed to do. And then I'd go out, hang out with my friends, get dinner. But you need to set at least 2 evenings a week, I would say, just to yourself. School is important, but you have to take care of yourself first.
And you graduated in 4 years with your, excellent. We did have a question about how it changed your workload, and I'm sure it added more classes than you would have taken otherwise, but it did not change your overall time to complete your undergrad, which is awesome. Dr. Druckmann, can you talk a little bit about the Forensic Science Club? Like, is that maybe what do students get out of that other than, and Caitlin, maybe you can provide some insight on this too, as someone who was part of that club. How does that enhance a student's experience in the major outside of the classroom?
Caitlin, you can handle it. Sorry.
One of the most recent things, so it kind of died off and then COVID hit, and then we've been trying to revive it since. This year, we've brought in quite a few speakers from different forensic fields, like people that work at the crime lab in Erie, to come in and talk to the students and answer any of their questions. Other things they've done in the past, just like a CSI night or a Bones night, just watching those shows and kind of making fun of them a little. We do try to do some volunteering opportunities. I think we're trying to bring back a day in like a forensic science club, day in forensics, where we go and interact with middle schoolers or high schoolers and try to get them involved in forensics and with Mercyhurst. But mainly just trying to get students involved, meet other people within the department, and meet people in who work in the forensic field in real life.
Yeah, and in our department, we have faculty have a wide range of experiences. I'm a forensic anthropologist. We have another faculty member that's relatively new. Her name is Dr. Jo Edsirius. She comes from Spain, actually, and she was both a forensic anthropologist as well as a forensic odontologist, which is odontology is a study of teeth. She was a dentist and an oral surgeon and all that, and did a lot of forensic cases with the Spanish police before she came here. And so when we do the forensic cases, we can analyze the bones, but we can now analyze the teeth and get a positive identification almost on the same day. And so that's pretty valuable. And we now offer classes in forensic odontology. Maybe we should think about a concentration along those lines as well. And then we just recently added another faculty member who is a paleoanthropologist, and paleoanthropology is a study of human origins, and her expertise is in $6 million Australopithecines from Ethiopia, et cetera. And so she adds another dimension there. She's a spectacular researcher, has many publications in the journal Nature, which may not seem, what is that? That's big. That's a big deal. If you're a scientist and you publish in Nature, then you've reached the pinnacle. So she's very good. We're going to also try to develop maybe a program around her and the types of stuff that she does in biological anthropology. And so it's not just the forensic science, it's not just the forensic anthropology. There's a lot there that we're thinking about.
Excellent. We had a question in the chat about sort of what happens after Mercyhurst. Sort of where are you seeing students go? What sort of career paths do students take? Maybe some cool, internships if students are doing anything while they are undergrads, to kind of get that hands-on experience.
Yeah, most of the students, since it is a science discipline, if they want to continue doing that, like in forensic biology or forensic chemistry, it'll take at least a master's degree. And so we encourage the students to move on to the next level. Some students have jumped off after the 4 years and have found positions maybe as investigators or working in the forensic science realm. It's a little more difficult. The employment agencies are looking for people with advanced degrees. So we encourage that. Like for some of the individuals at the graduate level, like where Caitlin is, the training that they get and the experiences, and that may translate through the undergraduate, they're looking for jobs as death investigators and things like that. And like Caitlin, in that program, probably half of the students will look to go on to a PhD and maybe someday, teach at a university or some other work in a medical examiner's office. Some of the other students that have graduated, we've had individuals go on to biology laboratories, go into biology or forensic biology master's programs. We've had people going on to since it is a sort of a hidden medical school curriculum, pre-med curriculum. We've had a number of students that have gone on to med school, or they're thinking about, they want to be a medical examiner or something like that. The first step would be med school. So what I see, our focus in the program is on the natural sciences. So we want students to get as much of that, and after 4 years, they can show that, yes, I took calculus, I took these upper level biology and chemistry, I can handle the toughest classes in a university setting, and so I can do anything. And so the world is open up, and you can do a lot of different things. And so I always emphasize the natural sciences, even if you don't end up in forensic science. That background in the natural sciences allows you to do a lot of different things.
Even if you end up outside of the sciences, problem solving and thinking creatively, those things that you get from the natural sciences are transferable
Scientific writing,
skills.
yeah,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
You can use those skills all over. Caitlin, can you talk about your path specifically? What led you to want to stay at Mercyhurst, and sort of what is your goal after you finish your master's degree?
Yeah, so I really just like Mercyhurst campus. Obviously, the program is great too. It's a really unique forensic program. Like a lot of the other schools I toured, it was like only forensic chemistry or only forensic technology. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I liked that Mercyhurst had the options. And I toured a lot of bigger schools, and I really hated those. I like that Mercyhurst is like an actual campus, and you're not just like spread out between different city buildings. And then I decided to stay because I still like it here. And the program is, in my opinion, and probably in Dr. Dirkmatt's opinion, the best in the country in terms of you can actually go on casework. A lot of people like that I've talked to in PhD programs are jealous of the amount of casework we get because you don't get that experience a lot of the time. And a lot of the time they don't trust students' abilities, but Dr. Dirkmatt really advocates for the students and makes us get involved and makes the cops trust us, basically.
And what's your goal for after you finish the master's program?
I think I want to take a little break. I'm not sure about a PhD yet. I think I just want to get a job somewhere, get out of Erie, maybe go somewhere warmer, and see where that takes me. And then I might end up with a PhD eventually.
Excellent. We did have a question about the length of time. I know that 4+1 programs are becoming more popular at some schools, but do you want to talk a little bit about the timeline of the master's program, Dr. Dirkmatt?
Yes, of our program, there are a lot of 4+1s cropping up, and Caitlin is sort of in like that, something like that. She's in a 4+2. So, but we're again, since we are the best, we get a lot of applicants. We typically take between 8 and 10 students, and we get them from all over the country, all over the world. We've had individuals come through from Argentina, from a number of other countries, but all over programs. So if we look at like this year, we had about 70 applicants. And so from the best schools to small schools, et cetera, are interested in getting in. And so we don't have a program whereby if you're 4 years here at Mercyhurst, you automatically get into the program, then we'd be overwhelmed. So here we are very picky. You know, we base it on not only what program a student went to, you know, and the grades and the GREs, but also, you know, we look at the extracurricular stuff. did you have almost straight A's, but you stayed in your room and didn't do anything? We want individuals that can balance time well, can interact with other human beings, and a well-rounded person that in our program can get along with one another. Because as Caitlin said, we do a lot of forensic cases, and I expect a lot of the students, they're cross-trained to do a lot of different things, from taking the pictures to analyzing the bones to doing a lot of different things. And so our program is a bit unique, and we're not really ever at a loss of finding students. We don't really advertise the students find us, and because of our reputation.
And I think both at the undergrad and the grad level, I would think from a student's perspective, a smaller program means they just get to do more stuff. They're vying for, hands-on opportunities with fewer people, which just means that they get to be even more experienced by the time they're coming out of either of those programs.
Right. And that's actually why I didn't call it just the forensic science program. I called it the applied forensic science. I emphasize that because I wanted to provide hands-on opportunities for the students. I think that's the key to learning, and experiencing this.
So it always flies so quickly. I feel like when we do these virtual sessions, we have about 5 minutes left this evening. So if anybody has any questions that were not addressed that you were hoping to have answered, or that you just thought of, feel free to put those in the chat, or like I said, use that hand raise feature. While you're kind of thinking of any last minute questions, we always like to kind of end with, a nice soft fluffy question. So I'll ask both of you the same question. Best piece of advice for students who are getting ready to start in an applied forensic science program. Sort of what can you tell them, kind of parting words of wisdom. And Caitlin, we'll start with you.
When I first switched from the bio to the Anth, I thought it was going to be too hard, but I ended up loving it. So don't hold yourself back, try it. If you don't succeed, that's fine, but you just have to believe in your own abilities and just go for it.
And sort of my advice is that, it does seem daunting and hard, but I again, take a look at, some of the high school classes that you take, and if you enjoyed chemistry, you enjoyed doing that, experiments, and it is hard, but if you enjoy it and you do well, then that's where I would go. As a junior or senior and you're looking at schools, the other advice is to go onto campuses and don't just pick one and say this is going to be the one. Go on to 4 or 5 campuses and talk to the professors, talk to the students there. One of the big things that I always promote is when the students come to visit Mercyhurst and they're interested, I want them to come see me. I don't want them to just take a general tour and from a student who has no idea about the program. If you're going to take the time to come to the school, I want you to sit in my office with your parents and ask the hard questions, and then you get a real feel for it. When you oftentimes when you go on the campus, you want to sort of gauge your feeling. Is it a feeling of dread? Then don't go to that school. If it's, hey, I have happy feelings here, I kind of like this, then the karma may be that, yeah, I kind of like it. So there's a lot of things, you look at the reputation, you look at what the curriculum's going to be, et cetera. But some of it's, I know the students are going to pick places that are closer to home or farther from home, or in warm weather or cold weather, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of things going in there. The undergraduate experience should be a fun experience, some of the best times of your life, and you're figuring out what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Awesome. We do have a couple of last minute questions. Caitlin, I'm going to ask this question of you because I feel like you were more recently in these students' position. Sorry, Dr. Dirkmaat, than Dr. Dirkmaat
okay.
was. What advice do you have for studying human remains for the first time?
I didn't know how I was going to react the first time. I was like, what if I'm decided to come here and do all of this and I actually can't handle it? Just don't psych yourself out. Realize that, yes, it was a real person. You do still have to respect them, and just don't psych yourself out. Don't get yourself creeped out. It depends on the type of body too. Like some of our even graduate students don't like the fleshy bodies. It's not for everyone. So just see what works for you. If you don't react well, it just means it's not for you. It's nothing to be like ashamed of.
Yeah, and
Good
it's
that you
kind
can
of
figure that
interesting.
out in college, then wait till you have a career in it.
Yeah, and I look back on my 30 years here, and I've had a lot of students, and it was, I think of all the students that I've had, there's only been one or two that once they experienced it a little bit, they said, no, that's not it. So one of them became like a cultural anthropologist, et cetera. And one of the things about it, as Caitlin said, you have to respect, but you have to, and I've done a lot of plane crash recoveries and identification of the victims there. And so if you go in and you start to think about how the person died or how they were feeling, and was a bad luck, et cetera, and you try to get too much empathy, you have to have some empathy, but you can't be the mourner for these individuals. You're doing a job, and the best thing that you can do for those families is do a good job, in terms of identifying them, treating them with respect, et cetera. So yeah, it's a different field. It's not business or anything like that. It is yeah, it's something different, but but it's always interesting. I mean, like I said, I'm in at 6:30 and leave at 5. So I love the job. I love dealing with the students, love the forensic cases, and so I've enjoyed it.
Awesome. We have 2 students who've raised their hands, so I'm gonna throw it to Kendall. Kendall, go ahead and pose your question.
Hi, so I'm in AP biology this year, and I know some colleges, regardless of what you get on the AP test, still require their incoming students to take a biology class. So what is your guys' policy on that?
Well,
So
we
you
have,
need to get a 4 or 5 on the AP exam for it to come in as credit, Kendall. So I'll say that right off the bat from an admission standpoint, can only come in if you get a 4 or 5. And Dr. Dirkmatt, however you guys view that, if you want to let her know that.
yeah, no, we have a couple different levels of biology of all the classes. So if you get the proper score, then that's great. Then that's an opportunity to take another class, a different class. I'm sure
And
Caitlin came in with 100 of them.
Because you do take so many science classes, you don't have to worry about that part of reach. It'll kind of be cross covered. Same thing with like the maths. You won't have to take an extra science because you have a science degree, if that makes sense.
And if anyone is taking any like college and like CCP classes for any of my Ohio people, dual enroll classes for a lot of our other states, those classes can transfer. And if you get a C or better in those classes. So we do make it pretty easy to transfer those classes in. As long as it's a 100 or 200 level, we do want you to take the 300 and 400 levels here on campus. Grace, I think you're our final question of the evening. If you want to kind of ask yours and be sort of our grand finale.
OMG, hi. So I have kind of 2 questions. One of them might be more geared towards Mr. Dirkmatt. So I'm a current high school senior, already committed, planning on majoring in forensic science. But my, let's say that I am way too into Dexter and I want to go into serology, which would be forensic chemistry, I believe, right? Would that be forensic chemistry? Would there be a possibility of getting like tapping more into serology, or would that just be general forensic chemistry?
Well, I mean, and if you want a career in serology and all that, you're kind of early thinking about it. But say you'll follow the path. You want to get a lot of chemistry, and you'll do the serology or the professional serology at the master's level. So again, at the undergraduate level, you want a broad spectrum of the natural sciences. So you'll take some biology, and I'll predict that somewhere along the way, after 4 years, you'll probably do something other than serology. That's
Of
just my
course.
prediction. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a circuitous path.
Mhm.
You're saying, as a senior, you know exactly what you're going to be doing in 5 years. And me being an old guy, I said, it'll change. And that's not bad. It's not bad at
Yeah.
all.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Because I know right now I'm taking forensic science. And I'm really into. We did a serology unit. I was really into that. But it very well could change. I guess that can kind of lead into my next final question. I am interested in chemistry as much as I'm interested in CSI work. Is it possible to do both of those at the same time?
Yes, like Caitlin double majored in biology and forensic science.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you have some idea that you want to do serology and do chemistry, then we would encourage you to do a double major. And I'm sure the chemistry department would love to have you.
Of course.
So,
Yeah. Thank you so much,
yeah.
Mr. Dirkman.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight from the forensic science team, Dr. Dirkmatt and Caitlin. Thank you guys so much for sharing your insight. I would say as a former business major who took one geology class, I am definitely not the expert in any other of our science programs. So always glad when you guys can share your expertise. Couple of just kind of housekeeping notes at the end here. Dr. Dirkmatt mentioned visits. Yes, come visit us, please. We love individual visitors. You can sign up for that on the website, mercier.edu/visit. Right on the form, you can request to meet with a faculty member and we will set that meeting up. You'll get to meet with whatever faculty member that is. And if it's forensic science, they usually tour you through the department as well. So you kind of get twofold, bonus there. For any of our fall 2022, any of our seniors who are here with us tonight, I'm going to put a link in the chat for our Accepted Student Day. We would love to see you on campus for that Accepted Student Day. All of our majors, including forensic science, will be represented. You can hear a little bit more, talk to them, have any other questions that might not have been answered. So we'd love to see you on campus on Saturday, April 9th for that. As far as questions go, Angela put our admissions email in the chat. Please feel free to reach out if there are any questions. We are happy to answer any, whether you are a sophomore just starting the process or a senior who's looking to make their decision. So thank you all. Hope to see you again on campus, and carpe diem. Thank you.